Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hi, welcome back.
And Sassy's doing her guard dog thing
Yes.
after we just chased away a big gray that was starting to interfere as usual. So we see the headline, 20-foot wall of water could be unleashed if Florida phosphate pond collapses. Officials are warning. It's still an ongoing thing, guys. And, evacuations are still in order. It's interesting because I see different things from different people as far as, is this radioactive or not? Because you got people saying it's radioactive, and even some in more official positions, although Governor DeSantis came on and he stated basically, this is nothing you want to be around. You certainly don't want to be bathing in this or immersed in this, but he said it's not radioactive. So, what's the case here? Because it doesn't seem like people are in agreement on this.
Right. If it's not radioactive, then what is going on? Why the warnings? Why so much of this information?
Well, it's toxic. I mean, it's again, it's byproduct from fertilizers. And, just makes you think, okay, so, these are byproducts from a fertilizer plant. Just think about the poisons that we are taking into our bodies every day, just if you're buying quote unquote conventional food. Conventional. Just that terminology in this upside down backwards world where, everything is totally inversed. Organic should be all that there is when you get down to it, because all the toxins, for one, and many people don't even realize that organic vegetables have more nutrition than conventional, even if the conventional is twice as big.
Right. These are just little minor details.
Yes, so this is still an ongoing thing. About 316 homes are evacuated, and, they're watching this because this could go really at any time. And then, as they said, you'd have a 20-foot wall of water that would be rushing out and then saturating the whole area with 400 million gallons of toxic sludge.
Yeah, I mean, that's really concerning.
It certainly is, and, we asked the guides to just bad timing for an accident, and that wasn't what we got, So I think that there's too many coincidental things that we see all around, and people are seeing through it. One of the things that is just becoming so obvious to me is the actors of division, and just how it's just getting to be so obvious, the divisive tactics. And I don't know if you guys see it as much as I'm seeing it, where to me it's like every time certain people speak, it's like I know the script. It's an obvious script here. It's all about constantly dividing and conquering.
Right. You really have to look at certain things that are passed in Florida, and it's almost like there's a kind of a punishment underway.
Yes, a spanking, so to speak, from the powers that be. Food price spikes ahead. Yep, we've seen this coming. Incoming major Arctic cold blast across Europe is a new threat for the global food supply chain. Is that a surprise? No, of course not. As we see the weakened magnetosphere, you're getting the jet stream dipping more and more. As we've been saying, more and more severe storms. We spent a lot of time in Mississippi and loved it. It does feel kind of safer to be, up a little bit farther north, and you can just feel the atmosphere there. That's, of course, will change as, the areas that will get impacted by the severe storms will change as we go through the different seasons. So one thing that we're going to keep seeing is food prices rising. And, on a side note, I just wanted to say that, we've gone through so many different areas. And when you go into towns that are a little bit more impoverished and not necessarily full of poverty, but just, not as wealthy as others, and you try to find organic food, all you can find is conventional. And that's sad too. And, it's again the sign of this backwards world that we have going on.
Yeah, it's really, really sad when things that can keep you healthy are not readily available at all.
Yeah, so true. Crop and cattle losses are on the rise everywhere, whether it's due to extensive drought, massive hail, epic flooding, huge dust storms, unexpected frosts, and even epidemics. And then you have the Arctic blast coming. It's going to be a temperature shock. I wouldn't be surprised, and I'd kind of expect it. Just when people are starting to plant everything, whoosh, they'll have a cold.
Continuing coverage this morning of what officials say is a growing potential for a large-scale breach of wastewater at the...
As it keeps popping back on there. But that's the type of thing that happens with when the gray's around, always trying to interfere. More than 40 people are killed, hundreds missing after severe floods and landslides hit Indonesia. And, in some areas where people are living on the mountainsides, when the water gets saturated, then everything just collapses and crumbles. And Indonesia, as we've said, it is one of the most earth change prone places on the planet. Everything possible happens in Indonesia. Very fertile soil for sure, and that's why people are there. The weather, the temperature's conducive to growing pretty much year round. But at the same time, floods, cyclones there. I was going to say hurricanes, but cyclones over there. And of course, volcanoes, earthquake prone. And speaking of quakes, we have a strong and shallow 6.6 that hit east of the South Sandwich Islands area, southwest Atlantic Ocean. So that was a pretty big one too. Actually, the sun, everything is pretty quiet right now. The KP index is low, and the sun's gone, pretty blank again for a prolonged period of time.
Yeah, everything's kind of nice and quiet for the moment.
Now, when we're talking about artificial flavoring and, of a very, very high type, unidentified flying object dives into Etna volcano prior to the 17th paroxysmal eruption. We've talked about this before. We've talked about, how about the Younger Dryas, that event that led to mass extinctions, about 11,700 years ago. And timing it with Enlil and his getting tired of all the noise of humanity, was that the same event? Was that the same time? Was that artificially flavored? Well, what do you think about a meteor just happening to fall into Mount Etna right before it erupts?
Yeah, I know. It just, oopsie, there it goes. Sorry, I didn't mean to drop it right there.
Oops, there it is.
Yes.
So inquiring minds want to know, is this just, maybe Etna is giving off some sort of magnetism and it just pulled this meteor in there.
The potential of a breach of the South Reservoir at Piney Point facility. I issued an executive order declaring a state of emergency in Manatee as well as in Hillsborough and Pinellas counties due to the proximity.
This coming on magically by itself again. Because they don't like us talking about these type of things. So if you had the advanced technology to, trigger eruptions and perhaps you shoot a little something down in there to keep this going, just saying, think about the technology. We've talked about it. Maybe it's time to talk about the Kardashev scale again. It's been probably over a year since we really talked about it in a video. The technology that these extraterrestrial, interdimensional beings would have would be amazing. This would be nothing for them. This would be nothing to trigger a few volcanoes going off, to even influence the sun, perhaps.
Oh, no, this is as simple as almost like playing marbles for these guys.
Yeah. And when we see these, if we talk about Dr. Claudia Albers and everything that she's shown with these huge circular objects that appear to be taking energy from the sun, changing the energy of the sun, what's really going on here? And is this really all part of a completely natural cycle? Because we could see the repetitiveness down throughout time. Well, maybe that repetitiveness is triggered at certain time frames. Maybe it has to do with population growth, for instance.
Yeah, it very well could be.
Maybe it has to do also with advances in technology. Again, we can't have another Tower of Babel, can we?
No, God forbid if we ever work together again.
And by the way, we see there's quakes on Mars. Okay, so we were told that Mars is pretty much a dead planet. Then we discover there's probably maybe there's as much water under the surface of Mars proportionally as there is under the surface of Earth, which, you know, Earth has 2 to 3 times the water underneath the surface than on the surface. Could be the same situation with Mars. So is Mars still an active planet? And Cindy has remote viewed it and said, oh yeah, there's reptilian human hybrids working with humans there. It's definitely an active planet. But are these quakes, or is somebody, you know, basically doing some blasting down there, creating some new underground cities, some new projects?
I'm picking up that it's some kind of aggravation. They're not organic quakes. They're kind of created a little bit like we do the fracking here.
Ah, okay. So some byproduct of the raping and pillaging of the planet still probably by these species.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, but that's what I'm picking up.
Interesting. Well, guys, as always, we thank you for being part of the family. Make sure you are subscribed and have the bell click for notifications. Thanks for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. Anybody that wants to have a session with us, reach out to us at evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com or EEARTS@protonmail.com. Always stay prepared, because who knows what will happen next.
No, never know. It's a mixed bag out there.
God bless and namaste.
God bless and namaste.